the reigning, defending, undisputed AFC North champions and the AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals. And you got to admit, with the Bengals, and they had a very surprising season. And they had a surprising journey, too. A very short turnaround, mind you. Looking back almost 3 years ago, they were the worst team in the NFL. They have gone through hell and high water. 2-14, worst record in the NFL. They look like dog dookie water, even with Andy Dalton over there. In 2020, they draft Joe Burrow, ship Andy Dalton out of town, and they went through that ugly season. But you saw something out of Joe Burrow. But he goes down with a torn ACL, and then in 2021, you don't really prioritize the offensive line, which contributed to Joe Burrow getting that ACL tear, and you get his buddy, his receiver that he did so well with in college, Jamar Chase. And despite that terrible offensive line, those two really did well in 2021. And they're guys like Joe Mixon and T. Higgins and a solid defense led by Jesse Bates and some very good games in December, along with, sure, you could say that injury mania to the Baltimore Ravens and a washed-ass offense by the Pittsburgh Steelers contributed to this as well. But they ran the table. The Cincinnati Bengals ran the table. They got some key wins, especially against the Kansas City Chiefs in January last year, to clinch the AFC North, to have a winning season for the first time since 2015. They went 10-7, thanks to the defense, thanks to the calm, collected progression of Joe Burrow and the breakout of Jamar Chase in his rookie year. And pretty much almost a lot of people on that team really fought hard for Joe Burrow in 2021. Now, again, that shaky offensive line really became a factor in their playoff run, but still, they managed to will past the Vegas Raiders. They managed to overcome a 9-sack letdown against the Tennessee Titans, and they ran the table. They overcame like a big deficit against the Kansas City Chiefs and turned that into an overtime victory to go to the Super Bowl against the LA Rams. And unfortunately, that same offensive line let Joe Burrow down, and a weird decision to have a backup running back run the ball on third down and that going nowhere, and that offensive line failing Joe Burrow on that final play. It was just a little questionable, but hey, it is what it is for Cincinnati, and they're looking to go back to at least the AFC title game and maybe the Super Bowl in 2022. But again, it's always hard the next year. But that doesn't mean that they prioritize what made them lost in the offseason. So looking at how they can accomplish that goal in 2022 to get back to the Super Bowl, to get back to the AFC title game at least, they made some key decisions in the offseason. They re-signed Jesse Bates, but it was under the franchise tag, and he's reportedly shown by various outlets that he may not want to play under that franchise tag. They also signed a corner that re-signed a corner that hasn't been exactly the best for Cincinnati in Eli Apple, and defensive tackle B.J. Hill, who's been key to that Bengals pass rush. They also prioritized this is the biggest priority in the offseason, and that was the offensive line, who let them down in the Super Bowl. And they prioritized this big. And they got some big additions in center Ted Karras from the New England Patriots, guard Alex Kappa, Tom Brady's key guard in that Super Bowl run against the Tampa Bay Bucks, tackle Lyle Collins, Dak Prescott's key left tackle from the Dallas Cowboys. So the Bengals really, really did well addressing that top priority need. And maybe, who knows, maybe they really protect Joe Burrow well this coming season. And they lost C.J. Uzomah to the New York Jets, but they countered that by adding Hayden Hurst from the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, Hayden Hurst he's kind of mixed, but hey, maybe he does well with this Cincinnati offense. They also lost Larry Ogunjobi to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but again, they re-signed BJ Hill, so they should be okay. So looking at some of their draft picks, they drafted safety Daxton Hill. So in the case that Jesse Bates holds out, they went on to sign Daxton Hill, who's pretty solid. They mainly focused on the defensive side of the ball by adding Cam Taylor, Cam Taylor Britt, mind you, from Nebraska, and defensive tackle Zachary Carter from Florida. They also beefed up the offensive line too by adding Cordell Volson from North Dakota State. So overall, this is a massive win for the Cincinnati Bengals. They massively improved the offensive line to better protect Joe Burrow so he can have more time to throw and execute the offense with linear receivers like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst, and you have a running back core of Joe Mixon, and I forgot the other one. Sorry. It's early, okay? But anyway, they also have a good defense as well, and they have what it takes to run it back. The question is, can they? Because compared to last year, they were playing a dead last schedule. They were playing the New York Jets. They were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Also, they were benefiting from other teams either like in a slump or getting injured, like the Ravens and the Steelers and the Browns. Their own division was getting like self-mauled. They were self-imploding. So, I mean, I'm not discrediting the Cincinnati Bengals for winning the AFC North or let alone making the Super Bowl because, like I said, they had a very surprising turnaround. And I think that the Bengals can and will compete in this AFC. It's just that it's going to be very difficult now that everyone in that division, a good amount of the AFC is going to be healthy and they're going to be fighting just as hard as they are. So it's going to be very tough for the Cincinnati Bengals. Plus, on top of the fact that, especially in the NFL, for anyone that loses the Super Bowl in the last decade and a half, it has been very rough. It has been very rough on what losing the Super Bowl could do to you. Just look at recent examples like the LA Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, the Carolina Panthers, the Seattle Seahawks in the last decade and a half, the Oakland Raiders in 2002 after that blowout loss to the Tampa Bay Bucks. For the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to go 6-11 or suffer these rash of injuries. It's just they have to overcome that adversity and they have to take care of their business and assure that nothing shitty happens to them in order to make this run yet again. So, looking at some of their key games in 2022, you look at Week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't know who Pittsburgh's going to trot out, whether it's Mitch Trubisky, the MVP, or Kenny Pickett with the picket line. So, for Cincinnati, you have to be ready for anything, especially in the event that you can either walk out with a victory or you can possibly let down. And looking at their Week 4 game against the Miami Dolphins, you're playing against Tua and that new improved offense, new improved offensive line, Tyreek Hill, who's there, and Cedric Wilson. A lot of improvement in that Miami Dolphins offense. So it's going to be a potential shootout in that game. And then you get late in the season. That's going to be a massive gauntlet. It's going to be tough. And who knows what Cincinnati's standing is by that point. Are they going to be in contention for the division title? Or maybe a top seed? Or are they going to be competing for a playoff spot alone? Or fighting for their playoff lives? Because that final stretch of the season is pretty rough. They have to face the Chiefs at home. They have to face the Browns, whoever is going to be at quarterback. And then they have road games against the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Patriots. But they do get a homestand to end the season. But it's a pretty rough homestand. Josh Allen, the Bills, and then Lamar Jackson, the Ravens. That is brutal. That is a brutal start into the season. So, for the Cincinnati Bengals, you improve the offensive line, but how are they going to gel in front of Joe Burrow? And Jamar Chase did have an incredible season, but not every season's the same. So, is he going to do even better, or is he going to like slightly regress because I like Jamar Chase, but who knows what's going to happen with him. I hope he does well again. And how does Joe Burrow do against a much harder full slate of teams? Because he's not just going to be facing the Chiefs this season, or the Ravens, not healthy Ravens this season. He's going to be facing the Bucs, the Patriots, the Bills, a newer Browns team. So these are going to be harder teams than compared to last year when they went on that Super Bowl run. It's going to be a rough stretch. I mean, I still think that the Bengals have a good shot to win the AFC North. They still have a good shot to win, like, let's say 10 to 12 games. But it's going to be a very difficult season for them, especially coming off a Super Bowl loss, which again, I hope they don't get that curse placed on them. But in order for them to get back to the Super Bowl, let alone the playoffs, they have to overcome adversity yet again. They have to hope that offensive line gels in front of Joe Burrow. They have to hope that they don't get complacent. They have to do better this year.